scratched out, but we're going to give it a go. The goal for tonight is we are going to repair a broken switch first, and then we're going to play. Yeah. So step one to this fun is for any of you guys that don't own a pinball machine or have never used one, to get into one, you have to do a few things. So I'm going to be moving this camera around a lot. Hopefully we can do the best we can with it tonight. You're going to unlock the coin door, which you should have a key for. Otherwise, you're probably not allowed in this machine. And then you're going to reach in, and on these old Williams games, there's a lever that you're going to have to pull to the left. Stern games, you may have these clips on both sides, but you basically pull that over, and you're going to take off the lock bar. Now, one thing that is unique about NBA Fast Break is this was one of the first games of this era to have a button in the lockdown bar. So we have to unplug that first. All modern stirs have that button, but there's no cord. The way they do it is a lot smarter than this way. But that's all right. Let me get on here. Nope. I don't want to watch myself. I want to. Let me get the chat. There we go. All right. So that's step one. Take off the lock bar. Step two is move that lever back over. We're going to take out the glass. Now you want to slide this down. Just pull this out. And then you always want to stand this up on its edge. You don't want to lay it flat. But you always want to set it on carpet or something safe. So, yeah, you don't want to lay that down. You don't want to put it on concrete or anything like that. But, all right, let's dive into it. So let me actually turn on the game here. And if you ever want to know where you turn on a pinball machine, it's behind the right leg. The front right leg is most machines. Stearns is now in the back box. The issue here, if I open up the door, and you can enter test menu, so you can see there's 4 buttons down here. So to press enter is the far right, and then you use the middle 2 buttons, the red ones, to get to what I'm going to get to. So I'm basically just pushing these 4 buttons, but what I'm going to try to get to is utilities, or tests, and then switch edges. And this gives you a little display, and every single time you hit a switch, it's going to bark at you. So if you ever go to buy a pinball machine, this is absolutely what you want to do. You want to turn on the machine, take the glass off, and then with your finger or in some other way, you actually want to test every switch in the game. And the switch that we're having issues with is actually right here, this $1 million shot. See, I'm hitting the switch, we're not getting a ding. So that's what I've seen, is after you hit it a few times, like it appears that it works, and then what you'll find is you're relying on that when you actually go to play the game, and it no longer works. So that $1 million shot is, the whole point of that is on third ball, if you drain out the right lane and it detects that switch, it'll kick on and you'll get your ball back. If you hit one shot, but the problem is it hasn't worked. So see, it was already flaky again. So what I've done is I have gone on Pinball Life, Marco Specialties, and this is the switch. This is what it is. It's a very simple part. The trick is you want to look in your manual, and basically you're going to find there should always be a page for switch edges. So that happens to be this page, switch locations. And you can basically look and be like, all right, that's location number 27. And then you look over on the list on the left, and it will tell you the exact part number. And you can go on Marco or Pinball Life and look up that exact part number, and they'll have a replacement. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to swap this switch out, and then once we swap this switch out, we're going to get to our normal streaming. So if you like watching people repair things, feel free to continue to watch. Otherwise, feel free to check back in, I don't know, roughly half an hour when I get this thing fixed. If you're going to repair the game, you always want to have it off. And then basically, within a pinball machine, to get this playfield to come up, you're going to grab the apron here and lift up. And then there's going to be these rails on the inside. You're going to grab those rails and kind of pull them towards you. And you should be able to pull them all the way until they stop, which they just did. So at this point, we can either work with the switch, because I can get to it. The switch is like right here. Yeah, it's just right here. So I don't even think I'm going to lift the playfield all the way up. I think I'm just going to try to work with it where it is. We'll see how easy it is for you to see that. So let me get a better light here. Here's a light I got from, this is what the light looks like. I got it from Comet Pinball. It was like 20 bucks. It works great. It's got a little clip. So let's clip that on to run out right there. And then we'll shine some light right on the switch that we're looking to fix. So the switch in question is not this one. This switch right here is for the ball trough. It's this one back here. So let me see if I can move that camera even better. There it is. So that switch, this is the switch that's the problem. So you see when you roll over the wire, that little wire comes down and it should actuate the switch. So if we look in here, we have two wires coming in this way, and then we have a terminal here in the middle. Now, that makes things easy. The terminal in the middle, all we have to do is pull, and that guy came off, and we're done. So I'm looking at that terminal, making sure there's nothing wrong with that connector, like making sure it has a good firm connection. That makes that easy. So we're really only going to have to cut these two wires and then resolder on that diode. And that's all we're going to have to do to get this guy where it needs to be. So to take this screw off, or to take this switch out, we're going to unscrew two screws here on the side. So just a normal screwdriver, nothing fancy. And then I have this magnetic dish. You can see it here, a magnetic dish to keep my screws in. So let's go ahead and unscrew this from the side here. Try not to hit the camera too many times. So these are small screws. That's all right. Here's one. Put it in the little dish. And two. You can see that switch looks to be identical, or pretty close to the one I just bought. So what I am going to do is, this is normally where you'd want to pay attention and figure out which, where the wires go. But in this case, both of those wires go right there into that front lead of the terminal. So I am going to cut those two wires off. So these are just some simple snips, and I'm going to go ahead and cut those two wires. You can see there's plenty of slack in the line here. And when I cut these, I always like to leave a little bit left on the plug. Reason being, like that. So you see how I left just a little bit of the wire connected? That way, if there's ever any question where did the wires go, you can always look. Now what I'm seeing right off the bat, let's come over here. Let's come over here to our workstation. All right, I am maybe investing in wireless headphones may be a thing to do at some point, because I am getting stuck all over the place here. There we go. And here we go. All right, so let me do this. We'll point you down. There we go. All right, so I can see right off the bat, somebody sprayed some sort of goop, because that is sticky. I have no idea why there's goopy residue in there. You see that? The stuff you find in pinball machines. It makes you wonder. Okay, so what I do need to get from this is I need to get this diode off. This diode is important because what a diode does is it makes sure a signal only goes, sorry, the diode right there, that diode, I need to get that off. It makes sure a signal only goes in one direction. So I need to get that off. I'm going to transfer that to the new switch, and then I'll be good. You can see, there you go. You can see that this wire comes up and then curls back down. So I can kind of clip that a little bit. Clip that solder on both sides. There we go. All right, and then now I'm going to use my soldering iron here. Here, I need a just a sec. All right, I'm back. Here we go. So I'm going to heat up those two little areas and try to use my solder sucker here to suck that out. Get rid of the old solder. So nothing crazy yet, but hot soldering iron to this game came out in '96. So I'm assuming this solder is original. And it does not want to, there we go. You know, I might just, yeah. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut that diode out. Yeah, I'm going to do that. All right, so let me grab my other switch. This is what I like to do. I like to lay my new switch in the same orientation as my old one. That way we don't have, we don't mess this up. So you can see here that on this one, there's a gray band pointing to the left. So I need to make sure that when I put it on the new one, the gray band points to the left. So I'm going to cut that wire and that wire like so. And then I can bend these out a tiny bit like that. And so I've just kept it in the same orientation. In a perfect world, I would have replaced this diode. These diodes are like super cheap, but I don't have any. Did you learn all this stuff from Pinball Hobby, or did you already have a lot of knowledge previously? Well, believe it or not, that's my wife who's asking that question. So I'd love to lie to her and say I had all this knowledge previously. I took a digital electronics class in high school that taught me a lot about soldering and a lot about wires and stuff. You know, some of the basic stuff, but believe it or not, the majority of what I've learned when it comes to pinball repair has all been from YouTube and watching others do it. And then just having the confidence to just try it myself. You know, why not? So basically I've just replaced this one in, so it's in the same spot, the same orientation as the other one. Like that. So, piece of cake. Alright, at this point we're going to solder on the new one. So remember the band was to the left. So we're going to take our soldering iron here, put it on the wire, just give it a nice good blob of solder. You don't want to inhale that as best you can, but there we go. So that diode is now, this is 60/40 solder. I like buying them these little tubes because it's just easy to handle. It's definitely more cost efficient to buy it in like a spool, but for as little as I do, I'm all about convenience. So So I'm bending that slightly to the right because we got to plug that one back on. All right, so let's go back over here. Awesome, I should pay more attention. Yeah. Hey, if you ever want to come down here and learn, I will gladly teach you everything I know. It'll take about 20 minutes. Okay, so we're back over here. I'm going to get my wire cutters. All right. So, let me get the camera back in a good spot now that we're all messed up again. It's amazing how many. There we go. All right. Oh, so you need a better workstation. Yeah. You don't like my stool? I mean, yeah. It's a great stool. What are you talking about? All right, so here are my two wires. So what I'm going to do here, let's get some more light back on those. There we go. Is I'm going to take my wire strippers and I'm going to strip off, I don't know, roughly 1/4 of an inch, maybe. So about that much. You see what I stripped off there? There you go. So that was on one. So both of these wires went into that the right side. So I stripped that off, and then being that those wires were together, I'm going to go ahead and twist them together. So instead of soldering one thing on, I'm going to solder, or two things on, I'm going to solder one thing on. All right. So I'm going to have the, oh, I came apart. Let's twist them back together. Innovative, but a little limited. My stool, yeah. They make, I've seen stuff online where people have like made really nice trays that they can like set on a pinball machine, and I'm kind of jealous. That'd be very nice. All right, so I'm gonna grab my soldering iron here, and I'm grabbing my solder, and we'll knock this switch out. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is called pre-tinning, even though this isn't tin. I think it's actually tin lead mix or something, I don't know. But so those two wires are together. I'm basically just going to give it some heat. And then, so what it's doing is it's putting a bunch of solder into that little group. So those two should be together now. They are. And then now, where's my switch? Here it is. Here's my new switch. We need to connect those to that front lead. So basically, they have to end up, in a perfect world, they'd go through the same hole that was on that other one, but it's not going to happen. So this is where we have to get creative, because this thing's kind of dangling out in no man's land. And we need those wires to touch. So I'm going to try to, I don't know, maybe the first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and clip on the green one, just so there's some stability here. There we go. So the green one's connected back where it should be. And then, you know what? Actually, let me just go ahead and install it. Let's go ahead and install the switch back where it needs to go. So I got my little screws out, and this is going to go back up through that slot like that. There it is. Let's thread our screw holes. Come on. There we go. There's the start of one. And then I'm not going to tighten that all the way down. Just screwing that in. And here's the other. Okay, in some machines, before you tighten this all the way, you actually have the ability to turn this a little bit. Not this one. So the being able to turn it then gives you the ability to fine tune how high the switch actually sticks out on top of the playfield. But no worries. So this is all good except for that red wire. That last wire needs put right there. So what's the best way to do that? Well, we can try bending the wires that way. And I said it just takes some finagling to get those wires to kind of stay there. There. Okay, so the wires are right, oh, sorry camera. The wires are right next to where I need them to be, which is on that, okay, they were, I lied. There we go. So you see how the wires are touching right where I need to be. There's my opportunity to get in there with the soldering iron. A little bit of solder. Yeah, it's crammed. This is not the time to have large hands. But you know what? It is what it is. I'm trying to get my light. Alright, so I'm just gonna put the soldering iron right there and burn every bit of my skin. Let's go at it from the other way. Let's try this way. This is quality craftsmanship, I know. All right, I think we're good. I think I actually probably put on more than I needed to. But we're going to do a very scientific test first, which is the tug test. You can see those are firmly on that switch, which is great. That's what we wanted. So now that that's done, let's turn the game on. And it's totally fine that the game is in this position. And we're going to go back into the menu. We're going to go to tests, switch edges, and we're going to test it. So let's get you a view of that. So there's the back box. You ready? And how'd we do? All right. It works every time. That's what we want to see. So the last test is whether or not a ball can do it. So I'm going to actually pop 2 balls out. Let's go ahead and pop 3 out. Pop all 3 out. I'm going to put the playfield back where it needs to be. Okay, and here we go. So here's the real test. I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to roll it over the out lane, and we want to hear a click. We want to hear a ding. Here it is. There's one. Let's try it again. Here it is. So those last 2 doo-doo are the optos in the trough, which holds the balls. So what we're going to see on that screen is you want to see last switch say 27. That's that far out right out lane. So here we go one more time. There it is. Last switch 27. So perfect. So that switch has been replaced and everything is good to go there. That was the one issue I had with this game, and I know I'm planning on selling this game within the next week or 2. So I'm not going to sell a game to somebody in it and there be something wrong with it. I would not like that.